Okay, so it's Wednesday, the 21st of December. It is the shortest daylight hours. I don't know if that means anything other than we're about to see a lengthening day and more sunshine. Certainly hope so in the sector. We're always interested at Power Metal to have open discussion with our shareholders to talk about the business. And for the first time, perhaps ever, I don't know, we have a real live shareholder, Tom Ray, joining us today to ask a few questions about the business and hopefully reflect some of the questions, concerns, and interests of the shareholders out there in Power Metal Resources. Now, Tom, I think this is definitive proof for the first time that we are not the same person. I believe there has been some rumor going around.
Not my hair's got no grey in it yet, so I'm not Paul Johnson.
It's only a matter of time, Tom. So it's open forum to you to ask the questions that you think are important.
I mean, I've been an investor now since end of 2020. So what year 3 now. And I mean, I think I first became an investor because I just like the frequent comms. So that you and the board had a good chunk of shares in the business, and I think at the time, the first Molopo drill was just starting, and I think that was one of the main reasons why I got into it. But I think if I was to say, well, why are you still a Power Metals Resources shareholder? The business model's just completely changed, and I just like this whole building a sustainable business. It's not this just raise a bit of money. It's not just raise a bit of money and hope, and then there's actually like a bit of a balance sheet getting built here, and I just don't think a lot of shareholders fully understand that the actual balance sheet building here, and I guess it is quite unique to AIM, especially in this sector, isn't it? There's not so much going on, any sort of focus on balance sheet. It's just raise a bit of cash at whatever terms, and then stick it in the ground, fingers crossed. If it all goes wrong, it's an 80% share price drop. And
I
don't think Power Resources are doing that.
Yeah, I tried the oil and gas investing a few years ago. It didn't really work out well for me because I kept holding through these drill programs when they were going for big oil or gas reserves, and then they don't generally hit them, and the price goes up a lot on speculation, then comes out in those companies on the way, and then some people hold, and it can be quite distressing if things don't quite work out. The mining or exploration for the metal space is a bit different in terms of how people react to the drills. And I think as long as you're balanced and reasonable all the way through, then it's a lot smoother. In fairness, of course, if you do hit a major discovery, then the price can still go up dramatically, as a result. But so you came in late 2020. That was when the share price was probably bobbling around 2.5, 3p level at first. So you've had a bit of pain as it's pulled back over the period to mid 2022, and then it moved up again on the news from Molopo that we published in August. Communications wise, we do make a big effort to get out there, talk about the story. Some people call it ramping. Some people call it my job. I call it my job, really. But I also like to evangelize about a company that I've put a large amount of my time into and a fair amount of money over the last 4 years. And now it is an unusual model. I'll give you that. Some of the Canadian companies do it. If you look at in the UK, there's not been many companies doing it. A few years ago, there were one or two in the last great resource boom period of 2008 to 2011. But it's kind of dropped away. No reason why it shouldn't be done. Markets we know are bad, in general, in the junior resource sector. I say they're bad. They've been bad for quite some time. There's not a lot of patience. There is still hope, and people do tend to attach themselves to those models where they think tomorrow there might be, outstanding news, and that I think investors, I include myself in this, are a bit impatient, in fairness, with regard to investing, and they want the results immediately. So perhaps we don't get the attention that I think we do deserve, that you refer to as a business model. But that's fine, because I'm building for serious shareholders in the business, not those that want to buy very quickly. That's part of the market, but it's not my focus. I'm looking, down the road 6, 12, 24 months ahead for what I think is coming in the space, which is a major uplift in the junior resource sector. And when that comes, that's when the people that buy into our company will look at the story a bit more closely and see all the various constituent parts. And when they do, I think, that will work out for us.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think Palmetto Resources have had a few big sellers around, haven't they? And I mean, that's again, when I mention sometimes on the boards around the balance sheet, well, there's some big sellers at the minute who are just selling when the market has just been battered, where we've got a big stack of shares that we can just sell when the market's buoyant. But again, there's just no patience at the minute, like you said. There's just that message that Palmetto Resources, there's too much comms, and then you now look on the boards and, they're not talking enough about Molopo, and it's all gone a bit quiet, and I guess you just can't really win when the market's like this.
There's an argument among some people that you should stay silent and let speculation run. Well, maybe, but it's your duty is to release material information, is to provide reasonable updates to market. We have a lot going on as a business. We do invest a lot in active exploration, so you do get more news feed. People, I think, get frustrated when they see news go out and it doesn't seem to impact the market price. They, on occasions, they blame the company and possibly me for that, which is fine. It's not really relevant. We, as a company, we can't control the market. I like to think we have some influence over market behaviors, but we don't have an awful lot. If the sector's in the doldrums, you can't just reignite it. But what I have experienced if you look over the last few years, is that when the sector comes to life, it immediately focuses, or investors immediately focus on the stories that they're aware of. And those shares move quicker, they move faster. And every day I think, I wonder if it's today that the kick will happen. And I'm quite excited about that, because it's actually a better place to be as a company for the team and for me personally, when you're putting news out and you're getting a fair, reasonable reaction to it. And there's been quite a few announcements in recent times that really we ought to have gone up 10-20% on the day, or potentially more, when it hasn't really happened. So that's a bit of a drag, but that's what you pay me for. You don't pay me for the good times. The shareholders pay me for when it's a tough market climate to keep going. And when it gets good, and it will do, and I'm thinking back to a number of phases in the past when it's gone really well, it's dead easy to do this job.
Yeah. I mean, I think when that Tati RNS came out recently with the high grade gold, and there was just almost no reaction.
I know, that was a weird one, wasn't it? Because that's a belter. The Tati project, it's quite funny actually, because when we had the first 2 licenses, we did that drill work and soil sampling. We got some bonanza grades samples in the first 2 licenses. We did some drilling. RC drilling is great because it is super low cost, and you get the results relatively quickly if you send them to the right labs. And that's something we have to address as well. But so we did the drilling, and we got 3 meters, 5 grams a ton from 9 meters downhole, right? So I mean, that information is, you've got 5 grams a ton is fantastic near surface. You've got, it really is near surface, 9 meters downhole. It's on what appears to be a mineralized gold trend, so you're validating that. And so those results that came out a way back earlier on in the year, I think, the first drill program, were great. Market didn't like it because we'd taken too long to get the results out. The lab
Yeah.
were astonishing. But what we did notice is that there's this continuing trend down into an area that we didn't have. So we pegged the extra ground, and now all of a sudden we've got this 8 kilometer gold in soil anomaly. So then we go and test the other end with the RC rig, and we get 47 grams a ton was the highest grade. It's only a meter intersection, but it's that kind of thing at the surface. You're gonna you're gonna get higher grade in some patches than others. And so you've got the top end of the system, the bottom end of the system, all with really good gold grade, and it's really near surface. And there's a processing plant nearby that has the capacity to take this and process it. And we're thinking this is knockout of the park result. I mean, I remember another geologist saying to me, most of the gold systems that get mined out are 500 meters long. And I'm going, okay, I don't really know because I'm not a geologist. I'm an accountant. I'm here to run a business. But 8 kilometers is a bit bigger than that. And it's near surface stuff. So then I asked the question, well, okay, what should we be going deeper? And as well, and that's one of the big plans as well, to go deeper, alongside testing the middle of this 8 kilometer anomaly as well, and we put that announcement out saying that's what our steps are going to be. So we're testing along the anomaly, we're testing in a lot more detail, and we're testing at depth. But yeah, that announcement, 47 grams a ton in a normalized market, yeah, we'd have been up a lot on that.
I know.
And nothing happened. But it's in there. You've remembered it, and investors will remember it, and we won't let people forget. That's why we did that little presentation just covering Molopo and Tati that we put out with the announcement yesterday, saying, here's just, I think it was about 9 slides, just focused on Molopo, focused on Tati, and at Molopo, which I'm sure you'll come on to, we've got the nickel sulfides across at least 2 of the target areas. And there may well be more. We've done so far we're on the 5th hole. We previously did 3 holes, so we've done 8 holes, diamond holes. We've got thousands of meters of core. Brilliant outcome so far. Really looking forward to getting the results back and finishing all the technical interpretation. So we put that in the presentation, and we put Tati as well, because again, that 8 kilometer gold system in Botswana. Really nice to get to the next stage on that, crack on and test that out. But Market's a bit anemic. He won't stay so forever. He's just shaking out all those people a bit nervous or who need a bit of money. Which, to a certain extent, you do feel. I have felt over to the late part of 2022 that Powermetal has been the AIM ATM.
Absolutely, yeah. I was going to say that. It feels like it's been like a cash machine. There's just been, I mean, obviously there's been like the historic warrant holders who probably just flipped and made a bit of money as well. But it does feel as though everybody who wants to get out is now pretty much out.
Yeah, of course, I know a little bit more about what's been going on some of those things, and it's difficult for me to say. I do get some questions asking, who's the seller? And I'm like, well, and sometimes I don't know, and sometimes I can't answer. There has been a fair amount of that selling activity. It's come from a number of known sources, but back in late 21 into 22, and then in 22 itself, who some of them are. I've seen, that you've said that before, and that's fair enough. I suppose I have learned that you've got to be careful where the stock goes. Sometimes the asset acquisition is too powerful to not do it. But you still got to think about this, because the market conditions as they have been, particularly in 22, can be quite difficult, which make even all that work that you do to go and get the message out about this great business you've got can be negated in part or whole by a careless seller coming along at the wrong time. So that's fair enough. But I think effectively I think we're through the significant portion of that, if not all of it, in terms of normal market trading. So should be good for 23.
Yeah. I mean, I was just going to ask on Tati. It'd be good to. I know that we mentioned about this potential revenue stream from the fines done. Is it possible to put together some sort of slides where we can actually see what that revenue stream would look like? Because to me, at the minute, there's like 1 gram per ton, maybe from those fines dumps, could be more. I mean, that to me is 31 grams in a troy ounce. So for every 31 tons of stuff, what about $1,800 worth of gold? In theory, obviously that changes if the gold grades are higher, gold grades are lower. But what I don't really know is how that actually becomes a revenue stream. What costs have we got involved there?
Sure.
What would a sort of contract? Obviously, there's going to be people will be taking their slices as well along the way. Like what sort of slice are Power going to come out with at the end? And then based on that, like what sort of grams per ton would we actually need in reality for it to become commercially viable for us to bother going down that route?
All right, yeah. So that's fair comment. There's two aspects. Well, there's more than two aspects, but there are negotiations happening on processing and all that preparatory stuff. And yeah, I mean, giving people more of a breakdown as to what it would mean is a sensible thing to do. I'm not entirely sure how much information people want or how much impact it would have at the moment. But the fines dumps are one element, but they are definitely dwarfed by the concept of early processing at the rest of the gold deposit there, which is why in that work program you'll have seen there's quite a focus around cherished hope and looking in quite an intense way at the gold mineralization there. Ultimately, in terms of larger scale processing, although we could do it quite quickly, whether we would do it by ourselves or with another party, that's all up in the air as well. So there are lots of different factors, but I take your point that giving people more detailed information is useful. And that, I mean, generally speaking, that's what when people have said that to us, why don't you talk about this? We have put it out into the market so people can see in a bit more detail. One of the challenges of I'm not a great fan of the concept of production in a junior company.
Yeah.
I've always kind of said that our job is to go and find something enormous, and then there's a capital value to that, and then and the same is true for Tati. Ironically, actually, when we started doing the work on Tati, I didn't entirely see how big it was. In fairness, I thought it was a nice, interesting, smaller gold project that had some potential to expand. And now I look at it based on all the internal discussions, and I'm thinking it's enormous, and it could be a very significant gold deposit. It's clearly become a project that could attract a partner into it, and if that was the case and on the right terms, which is the key thing, everyone talks about big firms getting involved all excitedly, and I think no. You got to be careful. You got to get the right terms for that, and you got to get the commitment to expedite the work. But now I look at it and think, yeah, there's a multiple avenues that we could take this project down. We just need to crack on with the next stage of exploration work to really demonstrate that we have indeed got an 8-kilometer system. It goes down at depth, and then the whole magnitude of this just takes off. There's a lot of excitement about deeper stuff nowadays where people are drilling down, a long way to get big deposits. It's out of this world if you find something that's near surface, and then the problem for a junior is building like a processing plant and developing a mine can be very expensive.
Oh, yeah.
And having a facility literally just down the road, 15 minutes away, actually changes the nature of that project, and it does open up more the opportunity for us to go down that route, which of course, if you can do it yourself, means that people want to help you, because when you can't do it yourself, people are like very difficult to deal with. But when you can, you go, okay, this is something we really do have options over.
Yep. Yeah, no, I mean, I think Tati, for me personally, is I think that's my favourite project at the minute, because I just think the market's almost missed. The market's just missed it at the minute for me. Because I mean, I look at it from an accounting point of view as well, where we've got this big balance sheet now. We've got a market cap which is not far off matching the value of the balance sheet. Therefore, you've got these projects like Tati, even Molopo as well, that they're not far off being priced in for nothing.
Yeah, I saw that analysis. It's a tricky one. If I think if we had the vehicle, Powermetal, we had one or two projects, like Tati, like our uranium interests, Malopo, and that's all we were really marketing. We wouldn't be too far away. We might even be bigger a market cap than where we are now. So from my perspective, I've kind of got to hold my hands up and say, well, this diverse model isn't quite working on market valuation at the moment. Of course, it will, in my view, when the various bits fall into place. But you can see from our commentary that we're now starting to narrow down exploration wise, big time. We're doing the obviously we've done the Athabasca uranium work, and we've done that steadily to make sure we're ticking off work commitments and that kind of thing in the key license areas, albeit they're quite flexible with Saskatchewan and how you go about it. We've gone into Malopo quite hard in terms of doing that, the diamond drill work, because and there's a reason for that. It's interesting. We can come back to this, but the market is often not aligned. The investors in the junior market at the moment are not aligned with, say, major mining companies and how they would assess projects. So you're kind of having to do work that's going to satisfy both audiences. And then Tati, where we've obviously, with this big gold anomaly, we've been pushing ahead doing that work at some serious pace as well. So that's our kind of focus. Otherwise, in our business, most of our packages, if you want to call it that, Golden Metal in Nevada, first development in Western Australia, Northern Territory, the Victoria Goldfields interest, they're all moving down this independent route because London doesn't really have that many junior resource companies, but will have and has a vast amount of capital. So creating these vehicles will be a self-fulfilling prophecy for as we move forward. And so those areas are doing their own thing and will do their own thing exploration-wise. Our business is starting to narrow into those three main project areas. We are drilling in Victoria Goldfields in that joint venture, and that's really because we've got a major opportunity with Berenga Mine, possibly a very large remaining gold endowment, high grade potentially. Well, it should be based on historical production. So if we get that job done, then that can really demonstrate the value of that vehicle, and that can go its own way.
Is that potentially some of the, obviously, because we've not got the 50%, the full 50%, more than 50% there. Obviously, Red Rock Resources own a bit more than that. Are they basically wanting just a bit more value then on that IPO? Are they looking to really try and hit something really before that IPO goes live, or?
Yeah, it's a bit difficult to talk about all the internal machinations because you go, apart from the market reporting rules, there's also the professional etiquette of not putting things across that might be overly positive or overly negative with a partner. We're quite enthused to get that vehicle onto the market as a listed independent vehicle with its own management team and obviously its own financing and that kind of thing. It's one part of our business model. It's much a bigger part in theory of Red Rock's business model because they have fewer business interests than Power. Drilling into Berenga has the potential to explode the value of that business package if we get in the eyes of the investors, because if we get the high grade results, and you might not, let's be honest, this is drilling. Everyone looks at that and thinks, blimey, that's a success story, and that's very easy to list. We've been in a really difficult marketplace for some time, which I think is improving now, very clearly actually is improving with the strength in the metals. But we've had to cut our cloth according to the market circumstance. We cannot just pretend that everything's fine and whack ahead with our business plans. Sorry, that's my phone going off. And we can't just whack ahead with our business plans with absolute disregard for the market conditions. I mean, there is a suggestion that that's what you can do. And if if XYZ can go and list its vehicle and raise this amount of money, then why can't you just do that? Well, it's often a different market, it's a different business, it's different precise set of circumstances. So yeah, I think there is a lot of commercial advantage in doing that initial drilling at Berenga, because of the potential endowment, millions of ounces in the conceptual studies that were undertaken. And if we're successful with that, it goes up significantly valuation-wise. Ironically, timing, Tom, could be perfect. The market's coming round. So getting, positive gold data out of a drill program, it possibly couldn't be better timed. But still, I would have preferred if it was further down the IPO track. Albeit it's not that complicated an IPO, that one. It's a UK holding co into an Australian holding co, which holds all of the licenses, which are all online and available for people to see. There's an already prepared 43-101 report covering a good proportion of the ground. So the CPR side of it is done, competent persons report. Legal technical due diligence is not difficult, and the accounting due diligence, the accounting forecasts that you need to do an 18-month working capital forecast when you list a vehicle, and it's a relatively straightforward process of working that out for that particular package. So I don't think it's a difficult, complicated process. As soon as we're ready to, full on advance it, then we'll be able to do that.
Okay, right, yeah. I mean, I wanted to ask about the Willam project, and we've now moved that into just like a 20% equity in this new company. I mean, I was just going to ask, because I sense that there's maybe been like a few frustrations around some of these less than 50% holdings that we've had. Silver Peaks, Hanetti, maybe things not moving as quickly as you'd want it to. So then you've now taken like a 20% equity holding here. I mean, what sort of partners have we? What are the other 40% partners? What are they like to work with?
Yeah,
I'm guessing don't see any issues there.
It's like housekeeping that we're doing at the moment. What I wanted to do is to make sure that all the different structures are in place by the time of the market recovery. I joke about this a lot, but I have seen some amazing recoveries in the market. I've seen some horrible times like this before. And it's a bit like deja vu when you see all the comments. People go, "Oh, when is power ever going to move?" "Oh no, that's it for the year." And it does make me chuckle. I shouldn't read it really, but I do occasionally, because
do you read all the comments on all the boards? Read all the comments on all the boards?
I used to, but I don't anymore. I dip in every now and again, and then I kind of drop away from it.
Well, I can't go back. It's insane.
It is, but I like it's good to see what people are thinking and what direction they're taking, and also if they've got any things that I need to fill in on announcements or on the media work, I can do it. And the other thing, which is you can't ever get away from, it's like riding a bike. I'm a private investor, and if it was another stock that I was commenting on, I'd be writing the same stuff. So I could sit in my ivory tower and go, "Oh, these people, they don't understand my business." So I can just go, "No, that's what I'd be writing if I was talking." I mean, some of the investments I've got elsewhere, oh my life, I can't actually speak about them. I can't even engage on them properly. Well, I've lost a lot of interest and focus on other things, in fairness, with POW, but because I'm focused on POW. But yeah, I totally get it. I understand how people can go through these almost traumatic phases. It's like grief. You get anger, sorrow, acceptance, revival, hope. I don't know how long you've been investing, Tom, but I tell you what, when this sector kicks like it did in 2009 and a few times in between, when it kicks, it rips like no one else, and it goes for it. I was sat at dinner next to my old chairman at Metal Tiger, Terry Grammer, one night before he sadly passed away. He was talking about how it would turn in a day. and it'd go from misery to positivity in a day. And that's what I've experienced. It literally, there is a moment when it switches, and then it absolutely goes. And all you get for the first 3 months is everyone denying that it's real after a big pullback.
Yeah.
So they all wait there. It's got like a stock goes from a penny to 2p to 3p, and they think, oh, can't possibly invest now. It's gone up so much, and then it's 4, then it's 5, and then people get priced out, and then eventually it gets up to 10, and then they buy it because they can't wait any longer, and then it falls to 8. And they're back in this misery cycle. I've only found one way to deal with it, and that's to sit in these positions as best I can all the way through. Because otherwise it's hard to get back in sometimes, psychologically and practically, financially. And I've kind of lost my thread of where you were going with the questions. Bring me back online, Tom.
I think was talking about the Ralam project at the moment. I took that 20%. Aussie, the Aussie stake, and you just said it's for like housekeeping, and I guess it like reduces cash burn as well and keeps things active.
So everything in our business at the time of the big recovery, which is coming, in my view, and forgive me for saying that because I've got to keep saying, in my view, potentially, possibly, because that otherwise I get into trouble. In my view, this massive recovery is coming, and I want all the parts of the business to be sorted out. Now, we had in one of our Twitter slides, we had our projects that we're exploring and our projects that were in spin-out mode. And then in the middle, we had this category. And it included Willan, Heneti, Silver Peak, and Ophir. That where next steps were to be decided. Well, you know about Willan now because we said we're doing that. Obviously, there's a bit more info I know about that than generally is available to everyone else, as with most things in our business. We saw this opportunity for quite expedited value generation by taking our package, which was quite a large land package, but limited exploration, where if we were going to go for it, we'd have to put a lot more energy and effort in, put it into another vehicle with some cracking Queensland copper projects. There's a big rush of interest for copper now across the markets, but including in the UK and Australia. And then we would take a smaller piece with our projects, and instead of having 100% of an early stage exploration package, when we kind of have enough of them already, we would have a 20% investment in a copper package in Queensland that might crystallize value for us very efficiently. So that was the plan. So there's two routes with that. One is that a transaction is done quicker with an existing listed or to be listed vehicle, or we go down the listing route ourselves a little bit later on. It'd be nice if it was the former. Yeah, so Silver Peak is a project, the Bonanza grade silver. It's a project that requires dedication and focus. When the silver sector comes back to life, it will be dramatically valuable. So it's just about getting it in the right structure as soon as we can, and that's what we are working.
Because the other 70% there, are they just private investors in Silver Peak?
No, they've owned the project for a long period of time. We came along and spent some money on it. We got the Bonanza grade silver. It's a perfect silver vehicle that you do something with and create a lot of value from. When the sector kicks in silver, loads of people pile into want silver investments, and there's not that much around, or it won't be that much around, even when it's booming. So it will be a big draw for investor money. So we just need to get it structured in the right way, and that we are literally working on that. We're not. Well, I'm not dramatically efficient in the sense that I can't do everything today, and so I have to manage expectations on that. But as you see, Willan was. We don't know what next steps are. And then all of a sudden an announcement comes out and says, well, here they are. So that kind of thing is going on Silver Peak as well. And then Ophir North is obviously a lithium focused opportunity in Quebec. We've recently acquired we staked effectively a big patch of lithium prospective ground in Ontario. You could kind of work out where we're going there with that. we're starting to build some critical mass. And so very soon, early in the new year, probably, we'll have a plan that we can articulate, but we're just forming it at the moment. And what I would like to see is probably, I've got to be sensible with my expectations, because people don't believe it at the best of times. And if I get too silly, then they won't believe it. But if we end up with strategic balance sheet investments in a dozen different vehicles doing different things in different parts of the world, that's funded and financed, managed by others in their own wrapper, probably listed for most, but not for all necessarily. Then
you just broke up there, so just repeat that again.
Yeah, so if I basically through this business create a dozen balance sheet investments in listed, but not always listed vehicles that hold these different project packages that are self-financed, self-managed, and have their own strategy and direction into a bull market in the resources space, then our balance sheet will swell quite dramatically. I mean, it literally could be quite dramatic. And then we have a focus in our business on some large district scale African exploration projects and our uranium interests, which when the uranium sector truly kicks, which it will. And I just tweeted out actually a great uranium chart I think I saw showing a potential pathway. Then we'll have a combination of district scale African exploration with North American and potentially other areas in the world uranium exploration, and that will be the next stage of the business. Yeah,
like I said before, I just think how like building the equity. We've been this cash machine for people and the businesses as well as people, but yeah, I just think that all it needs to be is just a slight uptick in market sentiment, and you could just, that balance sheet could just like swell, and that's the reason why I'm now.
Yeah,
that's my reason why I'm invested here, just waiting for that, because it's coming. We don't know if it's going to be tomorrow, or it could even be 3 or 4 years down the line. Who knows? But there's not many times I've been invested in companies in the junior exploration space when I can sleep at night. Sometimes I'll think, oh God, what's going on? What's going to happen here tomorrow? What's going to happen here tomorrow? But with Palmetto Resources, I just think, well, you surely bottom valuation now here from a private investor's point of view, because you've got that balance sheet to back you up.
Yeah, I mean, you'd think it. That's what so many different people around us keep saying. Investors and various people that we work with. Most people now are seeing some signs of life in the sector, which is interesting, and we're definitely seeing it with strong metal prices, things starting to bobble. There is a massive issue with supply of metal. It's demonstrated through the metal stocks. Look at the LME. Kitco is the site I have a look at quite a lot. Very low nickel, copper, zinc. If you look at the demand going forward, the electric vehicles is the one we all see on the news so commonly, but infrastructure, reconstruction and building, and there's so many different areas that there's a demand for metals that are simply not available at the moment. So the big mining firms are hunting like crazy. They might not entirely know what prey they're targeting sometimes, but they're definitely on the hunt. We see that in our business, and I see that from the discussions with other people in the sector. So if it does take 3 or 4 years to come to life, Tom, you're going to be driving around in a car with granite wheels like the Flintstones, because there's no way they're going to produce unless they get the juniors fired up. They haven't got the supply, the pipeline to do it. Often in some of the more boutique metals in particular, so like tungsten that we have through Golden Metal, dramatic amount of demand for tungsten coming down the line, and there's just no mined production in the United States, recorded mine production. A lot of the tungsten will be fed in historically from China, and that's obviously not quite the preferred route at the moment. The Russia-Ukraine situation has taken many sources of supply out as well across the metals. So we're in that situation where I see it. Look, it's impending. It's kind of obvious. And was it Mark Twain quote? The market can stay irrational longer than you can stay solvent. That's very true for investors and companies. They have to be careful of that. But it is definitely coming down the line, and I think it's impending. I was sat back the other day to think about the last cycles and what it felt like at this point, and it's identical. It really is identical.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, just with us doing the diamond drilling at Tarty, then is that more for the major interest there? I'm going to guess the majors would rather see diamond drill core than RC drilling assays, or is there different reasons for the diamond drillers? Just want to go a bit deeper, or
yeah, just want to go a bit deeper, really, and also it's good if you get a lot more information, geological information. I think if you're using core drilling in certain circumstances, we did have one scenario a few years ago I came across where it was a major looking at the project, and they wanted to see diamond drill core for technical review. So, and the more of that we can get, the better. So Malopo is a classic case in point. Investors in Power are very eager to see the assays, from as are we, in fairness, from the drill program. But if you look at the majors and the big firms, what are they looking for? Geological systems, because they're in a different league to the little juniors. If they see the right geological signs, which of course the diamond drill program can give you lots of evidence of, and we've got it, to be honest, at Malopo with the feeder zone confirmation, and amongst other things, and the evidence of presence of nickel sulfides and that kind of thing. If you can afford to go and whack in 25,000 meters of drilling, quickly, then you can answer a lot of the questions as a major that the juniors can't necessarily get to very quickly. You can get lucky with the work that you do, and that's quite difficult in our space. To get the results we got off the first 3 hole program from Malopo was fabulous. To get results from a second program will be fabulous too. And you can get an almighty piece of good luck in terms of where you sight the hole and what comes out as well, of course. But who knows what will happen? We literally do not have at this moment in time much more information than the market. We try and feed out what we get as we go along. This is not a game of a simple drill statistic will make or break this project. This is testing a huge geological feeder zone concept, demonstrating prospectivity for the target metals, and without question, this is a perfect majors project if we have enough information through technical review and the findings of the drill program. So that's why we've done the downhole. That's why we've done we're doing the very detailed technical core review. I mean, really detailed. That's why we're doing all the assay testing. It's ironically not as much for the London market. It's more for making sure the database of information we've got is, shall we say, convincing. And then you never know what can happen with assays, and we could find ourselves in an interesting situation in a few weeks' time.
Because have you had the XRF data back now? Because I think you said, I noticed that you said in a video, I don't know if you knew that you were saying this, but you said something like, we've not released all the details of that because we don't want to come across as ramping.
No, because it's, you got to be careful. Oh man, I've seen so many scenarios with XRF readings when people, they pull it out and they get into trouble. Because just because it's not definitive, it's indicative. I mean, it can be quite, if it's done properly in the right way, with the right sampling approach and the right testing approach and the right calibration of the machine and the right operators and so on, then it can be very good. But I've seen so many scenarios where it hasn't been, and you just got to be careful. And, you know, at the moment, you could put out that Santa Claus had arrived at the site and tripped over a block of nickel, and we'd be up 3% and then down 6 on the day. Because someone would say, well, if Santa Claus has turned up, he's clearly ramping. You know, so it's a great tool. We haven't used it in all of the work that we've done. We've used it in some, and where we've used it and we've had the indications, then we've made an effort to communicate that, but without giving too much specific information.
Yeah, I mean, I see so far from my point of view. If you said the XRF data is not being released because we don't want to come across as ramping, so that says to me that there's been some decent readings on there, and then there's been nickel sulfide in multiple holes, I think. Yeah, I think some of the guys on especially on the LSE boards are now saying that, oh, well, he's not talking much about Molopo anymore. He's now talking about Tarty. So Molopo must be a failure, and he's moving on to Tarty now. And
it was never thus with with this business, because you don't get that much of a window to talk about anything. No, Molopo's an absolute peach of a project. Because we've got some great results from Tarty, and we focus a little bit on Tarty for a while, makes no difference at all to the Molopo story. The Molopo story is about major district scale targets with the potential for a brand new feeder zone conformation, significant nickel mineralization and PGM mineralization as well, potentially, that would morph into a major exploration into mining operation, creating vast amounts of in-country wealth, and from our own perspective, driving us as a business to, a considerably higher valuation. You ain't going to get there by, just spoofing everything as you go along. It's about work. I saw a quote from Steve Jobs at Apple, talking about how from the idea through to the delivery of a product or a service, most people don't see the stuff in the middle and all the work that goes in. And the only way we're going to make those bonanza discoveries is just by repeated, diligent, repetitive, in some cases, work. And that's what we're doing. So no, the excitement hasn't dimmed with Molopo, quite the opposite. And but we have a wider business to talk about as well.
So Molopo's what, 600 meters left to go, is there, roughly?
Yeah, we've left it a little bit open from the off. We've got the whole 2-3 is now running, and that's was the final target that we'd planned from this drill program. We did adjust things a bit because we wanted to do a bit more work on 1-6, so we changed the location of where we were planning to drill next and changed the order a little bit. So yeah, there's 2,600 meters was planned. This hole will consume, where we're now 130 meters. This hole will consume the majority of that, and then we'll make a call about what the next steps are. But there will be next steps.
Okay, that's good. Yeah. I don't think I've got any other questions. I mean, yeah, it's just a case of waiting for the assay results now. I mean, I'm guessing drilling finishes Jan on this plan 2,600 and then meter campaign, and then what we're probably talking maybe Jan, Feb, not probably Feb, is it? I'm guessing for the first maybe chunks of assay results coming through. Because I think you said you're going to do them in multiple chunks.
Yeah,
aren't you?
We are. The release schedule difficult to predict, and because it will not take the period of time that some of these assays have taken in the past. We have changed the way that we're doing assays, because we have had some extensive delays. Or some of it was genuinely COVID related, and some of it was just speed of turnaround. So we are changing the way it's done. So literally any time, I would say, for first batch assays. I don't know specifically when. And if I try, some people want you to give a schedule, but then you have to keep remembering what schedules you've given, because if you've given a schedule, you have to update if you don't meet it. If you update because you don't meet it, then people go, "Oh, that's awful. Why did they say nothing? Why didn't they just wait?" So we just don't really give too much of an indication, but it's much faster than it used to be. And then there's a whole heap of other technical review we're doing in parallel. The results should feed in. They should help us on organizing next steps. We're obviously assimilating all of this information into a database so that external parties can see that where necessary as we go. That's the important thing. Just trying to push it as hard as I can operationally across all these projects, exploration-wise, whilst at the same time trying to do all this corporate structuring in the background of the vehicles that we're creating for spin-out. So yeah, there is going to be a lot going on. I'm trying to reduce the amount of announcements we put out so people don't get too fed up with us without keeping the momentum. It's a difficult one. Well, this model is built for a good market. Primarily.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that's the truth of it. And when that good market kicks in, I think there'll be like there was in 2020, which was partially artificial with the COVID lockdown and the recovery in share prices. But it's not too dissimilar, you know, Tom, from like if you go back 10 years, when you get that buoyancy back in the market, you do see a lot of the ships rising at the same time. But you do see a few kind of vehicles that have continued to operate during the down phase, the down cycle, that get a lot more attention quickly, and it does seem to move up, all the time. Someone said to me the other day they remembered from one of my previous vehicles, every day they would wake up and know that the stock was going up that morning, and it was a fantastic feeling. And that a lot of investors haven't had that, but it's coming.
Yeah. No, I'm fully waiting for that day, because I think I can't remember a day when I looked on my little watch list of all the AIM juniors, and there's been loads of blue. It's always just red. There's just not been a day for probably 18, 24 months now where you wake up and everybody's +5 or everybody's +10. It's just not been that.
I mean, at the moment, I don't have that many on my list at the moment. But just looking at the UK, I've got Canada, Australia, and the UK market. I look at where we are today, and it's right. There's very little up. One or two around showing a few signs of blue. Most of it's green, which is nothing. It's flat, and there's a bit of red. I do see a bit more green and blues, in fairness, now on the screen. So it's a bit more positive than it was. That you can get a bit of a ripper, between Christmas and New Year. Again, someone said to me, have you seen your data between Christmas and New Year? And 2 years ago, we were up something like 30% between Christmas and New Year. And last year, we were up 15-20 between Christmas and New Year. So
yeah,
a lot of people are napping in that period, I'm sure, which I would like to be. But it's actually quite a decent phase for a lot of junior companies. So we're a bit more positive. We'll see what happens. We're going for it all the time, and very proud. I'm proud of what we've done as a business and the team and what they've achieved. And we're looking just to crack on for the rest of this year, because there's still 10 days left. And then next year, I think we're going to see a different market. So that'll be nice.
Well, I've noticed you've said on multiple occasions, we're not here for 2p. I think you said it yesterday on Twitter as well. We're not here for 2p. Oh, and you said it quite a few times last year as well. And I mean, I think to me, it should be, what's 2p, 33 million market cap at the minute, would it be? Something like that. I mean, that's...
Yeah. It's not...
It should be that.
Yeah, we just look at what we've got within the business with the various elements. There's 6 or 7 2Ps in this business before you even start thinking about it, if I'm honest. and it'll be an interesting. That's why I don't really talk about market values and prices and market caps that much about the business, because, you know, if you ask me, do I think we're fairly valued? It's a pretty obvious answer at the moment. But what happens if we end up at like 32p on a massive ripper in the space? And you're on another call and you're asking me if it's fairly valued. Well, if I express a definitive opinion now, what am I going to say when it's 30? You know, if it's at 32p, actually, bloody hell, I didn't expect it to get to this level so quickly. You know, I'll have to be honest with you. And then I'll get slated for saying, oh, I think we're a bit toppy. You know, it's a difficult one, but you get these clear moments. And that's what happens, of course. You'll go from these undervaluations through to the overvaluations in the space, and individual companies and generally. And it does happen quite quickly. And then everything corrects back down again. But the moment is definitely coming, and I'll be glad for the people that are stuck with the story. There's a lot of people who've had to sell in these junior companies. There's a lot of people that have chosen to sell that didn't have to sell in these junior companies, and occasionally I do get people ring up and say, oh, I had to sell 1 million shares, I'm ever so sorry about that. And I go, no, it's no problem. That's what we're here for. Don't tell me again. That's what we're here for. If you need to sell, you go and sell. Just do me a favor. When we start to go to dramatically higher levels, don't ring me up and bemoan the fact you sold, right? And you could have sold it for 10 times more or whatever it is. Just sit with it and don't worry about it, because that's the market. I'm glad that we're able to stay liquid. It's a bit crabby at the moment because it's Christmas time and all that, but generally speaking, we're reasonably liquid and we have remained so. So that's useful. It shows that if you buy shares, you can, if you need to, sell them, which is the function of the market. Great. So I've got to ask you the question, Tom, before we finish. What are people saying generally about what we're doing wrong?
What they're doing wrong? I mean, the main thing is you talk too much, and then if you don't talk enough, and so the main things that are around, I think sometimes there's just too much news out there. To me, I find that absolutely ridiculous comment, but I think it's just investors trying to find an excuse as to why Palm Resources is just not considerably higher, and I think it's just historic warrants and big chunky sellers. I don't think the business is really doing anything wrong from my point of view. I saw someone say that what they're doing, what's Palm Resources doing buying any more lithium assets? They've missed the lithium boom now.
Yeah.
That's someone said.
You know, sometimes you do read these comments and think, what a beep. Absolutely not. Well, bear in mind on the discussion sites, less on Twitter because it's self-policed really by the other people. But on the discussion sites, they are in many cases like an era from 2008 to 11. They were popular then. They were vibrantly used then by various people. And the stuff you see nowadays, I don't know whether they're short the stock, trying to bash the stock down, get it cheaper, miserable, have made bad decisions and they're blaming everyone else rather than themselves, which they should do to recover and get back on their feet. But there's a lot of negative comments, and they've become a bit farcical, really. Far better on Twitter now and Telegram and those more social media sites where if you're a bit of a jerk, everyone tells you're a bit of a jerk in live forum. It's dead easy to do so because you get a bit more balanced commentary. But there's no way this is the end of the lithium boom. You know, but the amazing thing for our perspective is that you can still, with technical review and putting the team resources into it, you can still find areas that are hugely prospective that haven't been taken up already. And you can do it via staking, which is one of the cheapest activities going. And when you stake, you're effectively acquiring the work that's been undertaken by other explorers in the past, particularly in the Athabasca, that they've spent millions upon millions of dollars on. The data and the information is available, as it is as well in Canada and Australia. And you're not paying for it. It's already there. So, no, there's a long way to go with lithium. There's a long way to go with all of these, pretty much all of these commodities. And it's just now a race against time to get everything structured in time. And that's what we're doing at the moment. We're going to be working between Christmas and New Year and up to Christmas, because there's a lot. I want to get vehicles sorted, everything ready to go before this big kickoff happens. So then we can press the button on new disposals, new listings, just at the right time.
And you can convert all these warrants and options that you've got backed up as well.
Oh, it's a nightmare. It's a joke. It's some. I think it was the CEO of the London Stock Exchange that for quite some time have had the same problem of having to just could not be able to convert. And as someone said to me from a technical perspective a couple of years ago, it's not with. You got to be careful that you're not seen to be insider trading, as it were, or people can assume that you are, because it's not just what you know now. It's about, you could go and buy something or convert warrants and options, and then the next day or even later that day you could get an email with a set of results in, and you put it out and then whoosh, off it goes or something, and then everyone says, oh, he must have known. He must have known it. It's the rear view mirror concept. So it's a bit tough. So we've rolled them basically on, and we got, instead of just rolling them bit by bit by bit, what we effectively, the company, not just me in that sense, the company said, okay, this is ridiculous. It's clearly a busy business. Just give you a sensible amount of time where we don't have to keep reporting back to the market saying, oh, we've not been able to do it this month. And that's what we've done previously. We just put block kind of periods in. And I don't think anyone sensible would have an issue with that, because the value that's being created is there. If it's just a physical thing, that the work that we're doing is pulling a blocker into us actually going and exercising, then so what? As soon as we can, we will.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. Brilliant. Well, it'd be good once the Moloko results come out. Once those Moloko results start coming out, it'd be good if we could have like one of them Q&A sessions on Telegram again. I think that'll be useful.
Yeah.
Once we've got actual
definitely
assay.
Yeah, definitely. We'll do a few more of them, because they're quite useful open exercises. I think our Telegram group is up to 600 members now. I'm sure, and that there'll be some that are not active anymore. When this sector kicks off, I imagine that Telegram group will be up to thousands of members. It'll be a really good forum for discussion about the business, and because we record it, then it's like I'm not trying to do a bit of sneaky discussion quietly in the background. It's open. People can listen to it elsewhere, So
yeah.
All right. Well, that I guess I should stop going on. And that's an hour.
Yeah. No, cheers. What was out? It was helpful. Yeah, I'm sure it'll be helpful for plenty of others as well.
No worries at all. So I can confirm that we are not the same. In fairness, Tom, you're younger and better looking than me. So I wish it was the same person, but it's sadly not the case. So thank you very much. I appreciate all your time.
Yeah, cheers, Paul. Yeah, thanks.